Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Standing Tall Podcast. Another apology from me for taking so long to make another episode, but honestly, as I said on the previous episode, I believe that it's been really hard for me to figure out what to talk about. I have these thoughts every now and then about, oh, I would really like to share about this, I would really like to talk about this, but when it comes down to me sitting down and writing ideas, I can't think of anything. Or if I do think about something, I'm thinking like, oh, that's not enough to make a whole episode. I don't know. So if you have any ideas, any requests, any things that you would like me to talk about, please leave them in the comments. Send me a DM. Help a girl out, okay? Because at the end of the day, honestly, obviously the podcast is for you guys. So if there's something that you want me to talk about, like I'll talk more about that. And again, like I really think this is really fun to do solo episodes and share more about my life and open up more to you guys. So that's like the whole idea of this like second season. So let's see how it goes. And I think this episode is gonna be super interesting. I hope it was gonna be a mix of very like serious stuff and also hopefully a little bit fun and inspiring. And yeah, I think at the end of it, it's gonna be very helpful. So hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think at the end of the episode. A little bit about myself, just to start off, because I haven't talked about this on social media, so you guys will know, and nobody else. It's nothing crazy. I love vitamin C, but I burned my under eye with it. Like it's been already, I think, over a month of me trying to heal it, and I've only been applying Aquaphor on it. It's so crazy because I've never had any issues with vitamin C. Let me know in the comments if you had any issues ever with vitamin C, but I've been applying vitamin C for literally years. And I did this new eye gel like mask, and I felt like a little sting, but I was like, whatever, obviously. And then, yeah, the next day, I think it was like, I saw like it was like super red and irritated. You can't really see, I think, with makeup on, but if I take off my makeup, it's like, it looks like the Nike logo in red. And then it turns a little brown sometimes, depending on the time of the day. So that's a little bit of what's been going on. And I had to do like a couple of castings. I think 1 or 2 castings I had to do without any makeup on. And I was like, there you go. This is what it is. So anyways, in this episode, I really want to talk about what it's really like getting signed to an agency and being signed to an agency. I've talked to several other models in this podcast, and we kind of touched this subject before, and I've shared stuff on my social media and other episodes as well about like this type of subject, this type of matter. But maybe I just want to like condense that in an episode and kind of like, if you already know this, maybe like remind you, or if you don't know about this, like let you know how it is. So that's like the purpose of this episode. And like I said, some of it might be discouraging, but and other things will be inspiring. But at the end of the day, the reason why I want to share this is because I want you to go into this career, into this journey, knowing. Like, I want you to be well informed so you can make better decisions, so you're not in situations where you feel like you have no options. I think at the end of the day, like, there's power in knowing that you always have options. So that's a little bit about that. But again, it's going to be like a little bit of about different like things, and just to like give you perspective. Because I think when you're trying to become a model and you see already the success in other models and you see other people getting signed or already having their pictures in Vogue and stuff like that, you think to yourself like, how am I gonna do that? Like I'm nowhere, or like I applied a couple times to an agency and that didn't get me anywhere, like they didn't sign me, I got rejected, all that type of stuff. And that's what I want to like share on this like episode is, things happen. And at least for my career, and like I said in other episodes in this podcast, like it like success doesn't happen overnight. So this is what I want to get into. So let's start. I think I want to start off because I look back at the beginning of my career and I was so crazy in a good way, obviously. But I do think like you need to be a little crazy, I think, to do these things that are passionate to you and are hard to get, because I'm thinking to myself, I look back and I'm like, wow, like I don't really see myself doing this being super rational, or I don't know how to explain it, but I just went into it. I just, I just jumped and went down into the water without knowing exactly how to swim. And I was just like, it's okay. I'll see what it is. I really want to swim. So I was like thinking and looking back at my career, and if you've followed me on my YouTube channel and you've seen my vlogs, and so you probably already know this, but some of the stuff I used to do is just so crazy because I was in Maryland and I didn't have any place to stay here in New York, but I really wanted to work in New York. And what I would do is that I would get on casting websites. I've talked about this in the past. I will get on casting websites, which are totally legit, by the way. Like even my agencies use them. So totally fine. But I will get on casting websites, try to get jobs by myself. And again, you can do this. And I was doing that, and I will get like random jobs here and there. Some of them didn't even pay that much, honestly, but I just wanted to be here so bad, and I wanted the opportunity so bad. So I would use, I don't know if you guys know the brand Megabus, but basically it's just one of those big buses that takes you like between different states, and usually it's pretty cheap. At the time that I was taking it, it was insanely cheap. Like I think it would cost me maybe like $25 going from Maryland to New York and back to Maryland, I think, or maybe a little bit more than that, but still was really cheap. So if I would, even if I got like a really low paying job, I was like, yeah, like the bus is just like tops $50. So why not? And the thing is that I didn't even have a place to stay in New York. So my plan was that I would take, if I needed to be in New York for a shoot that I booked on my own at 8, 9 in the morning, I would drive, because I had to drive an hour to the bus stop. So I would drive an hour at maybe like 3 in the morning or 2, let's say 3 in the morning, to catch the 4 a.m. bus to be in the city at 8 a.m. because usually it will take about 4 hours, 4.5, depending on traffic. But if it's really early in the morning, it will be like, let's say like 4 hours. So I will take the 4 a.m. bus to be at 8 a.m. to be at the shoot at 9 a.m. And then I will work whatever. Usually shoots will be like 9 to 5. Let's say I wrapped at 5. Then I will go back to the bus station in New York, obviously. And I will take the next, whatever next bus that was available, I'll take that one. Because with this brand Megabus, there was a bus almost every hour. So it was super convenient for me at the time, because it didn't matter what time I was done. There was always going to be a Megabus bus next. So I will take the next bus. Let's say the next bus was at 7 p.m. So I'll go somewhere where I could like eat, go to the bathroom, maybe just sit down, that it wasn't like outside in the street. Because remember, some of these times that I came to the city, it was wintertime, or it was like really, really hot summer days. So there was no way I was going to stay outside, So I try to look for like malls or really open spaces, places where there was food and a bathroom I could use without, a code or whatever. Because also in New York, it's so hard sometimes to use a restroom, depending on like what area you are, and you can find a public restroom. So I had to like learn, where are the spots and where I could go to chill, relax, sit down, be warm or be cool, depending on the weather. So yeah, I would do that. Then I'll get on the bus again, 4 hours back to Maryland. And then one time actually I did that back to back because I got 2 shoots back to back. So I did the whole thing about like waking up super early in the morning to be early in the morning in New York, did the whole shoot, went back home in the bus, whatever, drove back home, slept for 3 hours, let's say. And then I'm again, drove back to the bus stop, took the bus, came back to the city, work again, and then went back. So this is what I'm telling you. Like, I'm still very passionate about modeling, but obviously at the time when I was starting out, like, this were my options. Like, this is what I could do. So I was crazy in a good way. You know, I was really crazy and passionate. And I don't know if other people will see it that way. I don't think it's bad to say that I was crazy, because I think it's a good thing. Because if not, would I have done that? No, I don't think so, you know? So anyways, I think you have to be crazy and passionate in a good way, again, to do all these things. But yeah, that's what I was doing. So if you don't know my full story about modeling and stuff, just know that it took a lot of hard work and sacrifices and doing things out of the ordinary, let's say, to get to where I am. One of the other things that I did during this time that I was just trying to get my foot in the door, trying to, you know, make my way in and stuff, is that I attended Sports Illustrated swimsuit open call back in, I can't remember now, was it 2018 maybe? It's on my YouTube channel, the whole story. I vlogged everything, so you guys know the story, like you already know what happened. But basically, if I remember well, because I went with one of my friends who's also a model, she also wanted to do the casting. We were in line. There were so many people that went to this casting. I don't know if it was the first or second time they did this casting. I'm not 100% sure, honestly, how long they've done it, but I believe it was one of the first times they had done it. But anyways, the amount of girls that came in person to this casting was insane. The line was so long, and we were literally in line, I believe, if I'm not wrong, but I believe it was 10 hours. 10 hours in the heat of Miami. Most of the time that we were in line, we were outside. The majority of the time, we were outside. And yeah, I was excited, and I was just there trying to have a minute to talk to one of the scouts of the casting. And yeah, I did that, you know, just trying, you know, any door that I could find, I will go in it. Okay. The other thing that I did too is that, so after the pandemic, they changed the way they do open calls for agencies. So before, it was honestly very convenient. I wish they go back to that. I don't know if they will ever do that again. But before the pandemic, usually agencies will have at least one day of the month, if not one day of the week, if not 2 days of the week, where they will have open calls, which is a time where you can just walk into the agency at that specific amount of time, and a scout will usually see you. I mean, for me, I got denied so many times. I'll walk in and be like, no, you're too short, you know? But usually you can walk in, you can be seen, you can talk to the scout. Maybe they take details of you. Maybe they ask questions about yourself, all that stuff. And then that's it, you know? And if they really like you, they're interested in you, maybe right on the spot, they will offer you a contract, or maybe a day to tops next week, the following week, maybe they will follow up and be like, hey, actually, like, we want to sign you and all this stuff. So that was like the process. So that was really cool. But after the pandemic, during the pandemic, agencies stopped doing open calls. Like, they closed all of those opportunities that they have. And then they started doing it more like events. So it was like this one day after like a year or 2 years of not having open calls, like this one day you can come in and be seen. And because it was an event, it became this thing like the Sports Illustrated open call casting. Like, there's so many aspiring and models, current and aspiring models, like going to this open call. So the line was insane. So anyways, this was happening. And this was at the time, I believe, that I was trying to switch agencies. So I again, any opportunity that I could, I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. So I went to this open call. It was during the winter time. So it was like, I believe, let's say 36 degrees Fahrenheit, around there. It was the temperature of the day. And I go into this open call, and the line was so long. But I was like, you know what? I'll stay here. I'll see what happens. And, we'll go from there. So I stayed in line for, I believe it was about for 5 to 6 hours in the cold. And I ended up getting an interview actually. So for these open call, all they did, it was like kind of see you. And if they were interested in you, they will follow up with an actual appointment and you will go into the agency. So I did the whole thing. I actually ended up getting an appointment to go back to the agency and actually get like a legit, like full, like open call. I mean, not open call, interview process, I guess you would call it. I got my details taken and I talked to a couple of agents and like the whole like actual process. Like I did it at the agency after doing this whole thing. But anyways, I did the whole thing, like 5-6 hours standing in line in the cold. 36. I mean, when I started doing the line, it was the afternoon. And when I ended up doing the line, I think it was already nighttime. I'm not 100% sure, but it was already dark though, because it's wintertime. So it goes dark earlier in the day. But anyways, I did all that. After I did the line and after I spoke with the agent for like a minute again, I could not walk. I literally could not walk. My feet were so frozen. They hurt so much from being freezing that I had to take an Uber back to my place. But that's just I'm just sharing that to tell you like how cold I was. And I can't do the cold, okay? But I did it for the love of modeling, okay? Anyways, all of that effort to get rejected. Okay, I got rejected and that's what happened. But I did it, because again, the reason why I'm here now, the reason why I do the jobs that I do, the reason I have agencies that I have, the reason why I can talk to you guys about all this stuff is because I literally took and I have been taking every single opportunity that I can to make my way in. So that's like that's what you have to do, especially if you're short, especially if you are not the industry standard, especially if you are too much of this, too much of that, whatever it is that you think you are too much of and you don't meet like the standards, like this is the stuff that you have to do, And other people get a lot more lucky, I guess. Things are maybe easier, but the stuff I was doing, Anyways, I also... just to tell you more things about the stuff that I've done. I also remember when I first started to try to get signed in New York City. This was 2016. I came with one of my friends. She came with me and we stayed at my other friend's place. We were sleeping on her floor because she didn't have, anything. I mean, it was an air mattress, but still like on the floor. And I stayed with her a few days just to come see agencies during those like open call days that I was telling you about that all these agencies had. So I was able to see about like 7-9 agencies and they all rejected me. So I did this whole trip. I saw all these agencies. I was so excited. They all rejected me. That was back in 2016. That was a while ago. But at the end of the day, that's what you have to do, if you want to get where you want to get. And same thing in LA. I went to LA and I believe I saw also about 9 to 7 agencies. Same thing. I went to all these different places. I paid for an Airbnb. I think I was in Beverly Hills. It was a really nice area. And also, I was so anxious. I was so nervous. I was so anxious. I was not really used to like traveling by myself that much during that time, I believe. And I did it and they all rejected me. They all said no. So, but the thing with these rejections and everything, and I think I don't want to discourage you from trying and working hard, because at the same time I'm here, like I'm still doing what I love. I'm a full-time model. This is what I do. This is my job. It's amazing. I love it. But I had to go through all of this. And I'm not telling you that you have to go through all of this. I'm just saying, like, you might maybe have to, sacrifice things and work really hard, probably, to get where you want to get. That's just how things work. I think people in any other areas, in any other type of business, is the same thing. You have to make sacrifices. You have to work hard and all that stuff. But anyways, I think like a lot of the reasons why sometimes someone might feel hesitant to give it a shot and do all that sacrifice, and like I did, like just throw myself into the water without actually really knowing how to swim. Although in this podcast, I teach you how to swim, okay? I'm teaching you all these things so you know how to swim, so you're a little more well-informed when you throw yourself in the water. You're like, actually, I kind of know how to swim. So, well, I know really well how to swim. So anyways, I think one of the reasons why someone might be feeling like held back from jumping and swimming and trying it out is because you think to yourself, like, well, how do I know if I got what it takes to model? And for me personally, I was always driven to it. And I don't know what got into me, but to me it was like, obviously I can do this. Like, I didn't know how. I had no experience, but I thought like, oh yeah, of course I can model. Like, I can do this. And I did my first photo shoot, which was so bad. But after my first photo shoot, I started learning like, oh, let me see other models' photos for inspiration. And I started trying different poses. And then I started figuring out like face expressions and things like that, like all on my own. And that's how I got better and better. And then, more time passed by, I learned more tricks and stuff. But I knew. And I know there are some of you that don't know. Or maybe you do, but you're questioning yourself. There's like insecurity involved. Maybe somebody else told you like, of course you can't. So I don't know exactly what would be like holding you back, obviously. But this is my advice whenever you're trying to figure out if you can do something or not, is try it. Do it, like actually. And then throughout time, if you look back and you see that you've improved, then you will know, okay, yeah, I can do this because I started here and now I'm here. And this could be just, for example, if you're collaborating with photographers for fun, like I did when I first started modeling, and you realize how you're improving in your photos. Like, your photos are a lot better. The quality of the photos are better. Who you shoot with, the photographers, they're so much better as well. That could be a really good indication. Or for example, you go see agencies and you're starting to actually get good feedback from them. Maybe not signed, but you're actually getting like, oh, like some interest. That would be like my way of that you could reassure yourself, okay, I can actually do this, because you can see progress. Progress is being made. So I think that's like the best indication if you're unsure about something, is actually do it, put in the work, put in the effort, do your absolute best, take your time, let time pass by because you need that, and then look back. Am I improving? Are my poses better? Is the photographers I'm working with, are they better? And then that's how you will figure out. So the other thing that's like in between the lines about like this whole getting signed to an agency, becoming a model, all this stuff. One of the things that I think, this is how I felt many years ago when I was first starting out, and now I've changed my thought about it. But this is how I felt, like it was, oh, once I'm signed to this one agency, like I made it. I did it. Like it's all good. It's only up from here. And that's how I felt for a really long time. So if I saw like another model being signed to an agency, I would think like, oh, like that's so cool. Like if I'm there, I'm gonna like do amazing. So that was my thought process for a really long time. And once I started talking to other models in the industry, I started hearing other model stories, I realized it's actually really common that once you get signed to an agency, is not the end all be all. there's so many things that can happen. And this, again, this is not to discourage you, but just to make you understand maybe why an agency will reject you actually might end up being a good thing, because you really don't know how things are going to pan out. And sometimes it doesn't have to be dramatic, but maybe you get signed to an agency and you thought it was going to be like amazing, and time passes by and you're not really working as much as you thought you would be. Or honestly, most of the time it really comes to work, because that's the reason why you were there. But yeah, I noticed that it was common for models to switch agencies and be with this one that I thought was really good, and then out of a sudden I saw them somewhere else, and then somewhere else, and I would see them with a top modeling agency thinking, oh, well, that's such a dream. And then I will check again, maybe like the profile, and now they're with a boutique agency, which is totally fine. But what I'm trying to, like, the picture here, what I'm trying to say is that you might think this is what's going to make me happy. Like, this is the end goal. And sometimes you might not be. And sometimes you actually end up getting signed to the agency and things don't work out. So that's just like something to keep in mind, because sometimes rejection might be your protection. And obviously this is just something that you're not 100% sure if that's what actually happened. This is something that sometimes you assume, hoping for the best, thinking like, well, maybe this was not the right time for me. Maybe there's another reason that I would never find out, that, this agency rejected me, or this didn't happen, or this job didn't happen, because you never know what could have happened. There's so many stories. Like, again, I'm not saying that something bad's gonna happen, but you never know. For example, I wanted to be with this one agency for a really long time. And I, when I saw the opportunity that they were having some sort of like open call for petite models, I was so excited, and I was like, this is my chance. Like, I'm finally gonna do this. And basically it was kind of like they were not 100% sure about me. I ended up showing them my work and really like proving to them, like, look, like, I can work, like, I do all this. And they were like, okay, fine. Like, yeah, like, actually we want to sign you. So they offered me the contract. I signed, whatever. The contract ended up changing from non-exclusive at the time that I signed it to exclusive. And it was after I signed it exclusive that at the beginning, I was very hopeful that things were going to work out. And as time passed by and I wasn't really working, I started becoming, how you say this, I guess, like not frustrated, just thinking that this contract wasn't the right one for me, basically. And maybe it would be a better thing if I moved on to a different agency. So anyways, time passed by, still no work. And when I'm telling you time, I'm telling you months, and I need work. And I was just so excited to be with them. I really thought like this and this and this is going to happen, But anyways, I ended up, I was super nervous about this, but I ended up having a meeting with them and telling them like, hey, like, I really want to leave the agency because I'm not working. And I think it was, I can't remember where it was or who I talked to. I don't know if I share it on the podcast but I just have this memory of this like one person telling me this thing that they said, an agency, if you don't want to be with an agency and you tell them, they would obviously let you go because they don't want to be with someone that doesn't want to be with them either. So I remember that really well. So anyways, I went to talk to this agency and I told them like, hey, like, I am not working and I think it's best if we part our ways. And they basically said no. And they told me to wait longer. I can't remember how much longer, how many more months to wait in the contract. And if at that time I still didn't work, then they will let me go. So that was my experience. Time passed by, I still didn't work. And at least I was able to be let go. But there are other stories that happen that don't go as easy as mine, even though mine I don't think was easy at all, but they don't go as easy as mine. I know another model. She was telling me her story with like this one agency as well. Same thing. Like she was working really well, and then out of nowhere, she just stopped working with them. And time passed by, and she tried to do, because like when you are not really working with an agency, you obviously are trying to do other things to fix the situation first before you try to like move on and tell them that you want to part ways, you know? So she was trying to do like the test sheets to improve her portfolio and like doing all these things that they were telling her to do. And still, she was still not working. So again, she tried to talk to them to be like, hey, can you please let me go? I'm not working, whatever. And the agency basically said no. You are in this contract. I can't remember when the contract ended, but it was a while. And I can't remember exactly if there was a clause in the contract that if she didn't work for a certain amount of time, then they could let her go. So what she did is that she actually went to work with her other agencies in Europe during that whole time. So she was able to get out of that contract and move to a like different agency. And I want to share with you, for example, we had on the podcast Hannah Musset, and she also shared her experience about being trapped in an agency contract and not being let go. So let's see how it works, because I've never done this, I think, on the podcast to play a video. So I'm gonna play the video and just explain to you guys regardless of what she said.
So from January till now, it's August 17th or something. I still haven't had one modeling job from them. And to top it off, they took me off the modeling board without telling me. So you're going to tell me I can't leave the agency, but then you're going to say that I'm off your modeling website. And then when I have a client emailing you as well and CCing me in it, you're going to try to negotiate? No, baby, I'm no longer your model. I'm no longer under your info, whatever you want to call it. I'm not part of your agency. I think it was very petty that they wouldn't release me, knowing that they couldn't do anything for me. And that's why I'm like kind of hesitant to sign.
Well, she basically says in the video, you can go watch it. It's on her channel. She basically said that she noticed that she wasn't working. Again, that's the whole theme in here. She wasn't really working with the agency. She wanted to move on. She wanted to part ways. They said, no, you can't. You're under contract. And I think they told her they will let her go until... You can go watch the video, but I believe they said like August, September of that year. So that was like 9 months. And she says during that time, she still didn't work with them. She was still like trapped under the contract. And the worst thing, and this is what happens too, that I've heard like auto models talk about this as well, is that they tell you, no, you can't move on. And you can't work with anyone else because there's exclusivity in the contract. And on top of that, they took her off the roster on like the agency website. So that's insane, because I talked about this a little bit on this interview I did with another podcast. The name of the podcast is Combos with Sazon. You can find it on YouTube as well, the full podcast interview. But I talked about how sometimes when you are not working and you come to the agency and you tell them like, hey, like, I think like I want to part ways, I want to move on. And, you know, you're not working, which is the whole purpose, the whole point of having an agency. Like, you're not working, it's not working out. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, well, like, this person needs to eat, you know, why wouldn't you let her go? But anyways, so they said no, but it's not like they say, no, we really love you. We really want to keep you. You're amazing. Let's work together. Let's, you know, whatever. No, it's like, no, we are not going to let you go. And you can't work with anyone else. And we're also going to take you off the roster. So nobody can actually see you when they're trying to like look for models in our agency. So again, this is not to make you feel discouraged about the modeling industry. I think it's just about being informed. And also, where did I put this? I don't think I have it here. But basically, like, I think it's also really important to, I have this other episode that I talked to this fashion attorney. I have it on the podcast, Kayleen Puccio. And she talked about, like, just go to her, ask her, tell her what's happening, have a consultation with her. And maybe there's a way for you to be able to get out of the contract and not go through any drama. So basically, like, try your best. I know, like, getting a lawyer, an attorney is expensive, and especially like your models starting out, but maybe there might be an attorney, a lawyer that might be able to accommodate to your financial needs or give you some sort of guidance or anything, but try to do that. I wouldn't just stay there, because that's what I did. Like, I just stay there. Like, I asked a couple of my friends, I believe at the time, but they were not really lawyers in that industry. They could tell me exactly what I could do, like what my options were. So I just waited there until, they let me go. So basically, I'm just trying to say, I know this is not super helpful, I guess, but it's just like, if you're in that circumstance, first of all, know that you're not alone, because there's many models that have gone through that as well, and that you should, like, try to find professional help, and hopefully you'll find somebody that can help you within your budget. So you hopefully you don't stay in that for long, because again, like that, I can't remember exactly who it was, but I believe it was somebody like very well established in the industry that told me, if you don't want to be with an agency, you tell the agency obviously will let you go, because who wants to be with somebody that doesn't want to be with them? Or maybe I was looking this up online, and I think it was somebody in the industry that had posted a blog like many years ago, and I was reading about like how to break away from your contract, and I think that was one of the things that they wrote about, that's like obvious. But anyways, this is just a little bit about that. The other thing that I want to talk about, like stuff between the lines, stuff what happens when you're trying to get signed to an agency, when you're already signed to an agency, is the part that I told you. Once you're signed with an agency, you think like, that's it, like I got it, like jobs are gonna start pouring down, and I made it as a model, and I'm gonna start working here, and here, and here. It's gonna be amazing. So sometimes, yeah, that can happen for sure. It's possible. And like I said, this is not to discourage you. This is just to put like, different perspective, different realities of what could happen. And for you, if you ever come to this reality that I'm sharing in this podcast, don't think that you're the only one going through it. Don't think like your life is over. There's many routes and possibilities. But anyways, one of the things that could happen once you get signed to an agency, even if the right agency, is that rejection is going to happen regardless. And it can happen on daily, and it can happen a lot too at different times in your career. But just to put you on example, Giselle Bunchen, here's an article that I found. Hold on. This is not it. Wait. That's okay. This is not. Okay, I don't know what happened to the article, but if I find it, I'll put it here on the screen. But basically, Giselle Bunchen, supermodel, when she first got signed to an agency, because she was like really young, 14, 16. So she says in this interview that she got 42 casting rejections before she booked this really big, I think it was Alexander McQueen runway show or Alexander McQueen job. And that, believe that was her big break. But she did 42 castings where she got told no, and she's a supermodel. It's not, I think sometimes you might see a supermodel and you will think, oh, obviously everything was a yes from the beginning, but obviously it wasn't always a yes. So that is a story. And then I have another story about this other supermodel, Alexina Graham. She's a Victoria's Secret model. And it's super interesting because, again, Victoria's Secret, runway, super successful model. If you know her, you know who I'm talking about. If not, just a quick Google search and you will find her. And she talks in this video about, I'm gonna play it, but if the audio is not great, like I'll still talk about what she was saying. But it's crazy because she was said that she wanted to quit 6 years in because it wasn't going great, which is so crazy because now you see her career and it's like, imagine if she had quit at 6 years. So I'm just gonna play it right now.
I only started knowing about VS when I moved to New York, and then all the girls talking about doing the show, and like there's all this excitement around it, and like I want to do that one day. That's gonna be me one day. I just had this like urge to always try to the best. Took me a long time.
Yeah, like 10 years to get there.
Wow, that's amazing though. Yeah, I remember telling my mom, like, I think like 6 years into modeling, I came home and I was like, Mom, I'm just gonna give up. Like, it's not going great. I was like, no, I wasn't earning money. Like, you know, and I was like, okay, it's over, I'm done. And then she's like, no, you gotta keep going, I believe in you. My mom's a very spiritual person. That's so nice.
So she says that she wanted to be a Victoria's Secret model, and it took her 10 years to get to that point. So that was like her big break, I believe, in her whole career. Like, that was like the big thing that she achieved. But 6 years in, she wanted to quit. She went to her mom and she told her, like, you know, it's not going great. I'm not earning money. I just want to quit. Like, I'm done. And her mom told her, like, don't quit, you know, keep going, whatever. And she did. And 4 more years, Victoria's Secret model. And, you know, at the time, this was before pandemic, obviously. So it was like the peak of one of the peaks of someone's modeling career. So it's just so crazy too, because sometimes you think, I try for X amount of time. Let's say I try for a year, I try for 2 years, you know, things are not really panning out. Like, let me just like give up. Or even before that, you barely tried. You barely submitted to an agency. You barely submitted to, let's say, 5 agencies. Nobody replied to you. Nobody said anything. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to quit. You can't do that. Like, if you really want to do this, you can't do that. You have to keep trying. And again, if you know, because I know, but if you know and you have figured out that you are good for this, like this is your passion, this is your talent, this is what you're good at, this is what you want to do, this is the thing you want to do with your life, then you have to keep going, because success does not happen overnight. Maybe to some people, but the vast majority of people, it does not happen overnight. So the more I hear about these stories about how this is inspiring, this is the inspiring part of the podcast. The more I hear about these stories of other models taking years to get their big break, that they got rejected by so many agencies, they got rejected by so many castings. There were so many people that told them, like, you're too this, too that, you're not going to get anywhere, you're too whatever to do whatever you want to do. And then they pivot, or they keep trying, or they switch agencies, or they try something different, and then they get their big break, and then they get signed to an agency, and then they start working with their dream brand. So I think this is super inspiring. I hope you guys feel inspiring as I'm feeling right now, that it's just about working hard and keep going. So here is where I wrote, don't be desperate to sign to an agency just because it's an agency. Make sure you have time to read the contract, get a lawyer if you need to. And this is the fashion attorney that I had the podcast episode with. You can find the episode on the podcast, Caitlin Puccio. So that's the other thing too. Just to recap a little bit about the contract situation. Again, this doesn't have to be scary. I've signed a ton of contracts in my modeling career and everything has been fine. The only one time that I was like, this is scary, you know, I'm like, can't do anything, was this story that I told you about. But other than that, and again, I did it without a lawyer, without an attorney or anything like that. So what I want to share, the point here is that whenever an agency gives you a contract, take your time to read it. Take your time to really understand what you're signing, and take your time to also ask questions. And if there's something that you don't feel like that's what you want to sign, if there's something that you want to change. Like, you should be able, if it's the right agency, you should be able to have a conversation with them and tell them, hey, you know, there's this one clause in the contract, can we switch it to something else, or whatever it is that you see on the contract. But basically, just take your time. Everything should be good. And then the last thing I really want to touch on this podcast to wrap this up about like the things in between the lines and all that type of stuff is the part about like weight and measurements. So if you know, modeling can be very harsh when it comes to size and weight and measurements and all that stuff. If you had any experience in the modeling industry, especially if you are tall, you probably already know what I'm talking about, that there's some agencies or agents that they will be really harsh. They will be really harsh, and they will tell you that you need to lose 2 inches off your hip by tomorrow. And if you don't, that you're going to be risking all of your jobs that you're having. So I want to tell you that you don't have to go through this. Like, honestly, 100%, you can find another agent that loves you exactly for who you are. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to being a model, you just have to be healthy and the best version of yourself. And don't get involved in those, because I think a lot of times is this pressure. I think like when I think about models that start in the industry and they're, let's say, 16 years old, they get signed and then they be sent to a different country without their parents. Their only person of, authority that they have, the only person that they're hoping that has their best interest in them is an agent. And this agent, the only thing that they care about is booking jobs. And the only way they're going to book jobs, for example, if they think that the only way is going to be them being a specific size. So then they put pressure on this kid, and this kid follows the pressure and gives in and starts an eating disorder, you know? And then that gets trickled down to regular people, because then you see like, oh, this one model, like she looks amazing. She's doing all these amazing things. She's this size. I have to be that size, you know? So it's all like connected, and it trickles down from being alone, 16, super young, in a different country. This person that's your authority, that you think has the best interest in you, is telling you to do this one thing. You do it, you know? So anyways, there's a ton. Things have changed a lot. Maybe not the best change that we need so far. There's still a lot of things that need to change, but at least in this specific subject, I could say with really good confidence that if you are in a situation in an agency with an agent that is telling you to be unhealthy in order to work, there's so many other agencies you can go and work with that will love you exactly for who you are, the size that you are, and are not gonna tell you to be unhealthy in order to get jobs, you know? And like I said, I think the whole point of this podcast is for you to be well informed and know that you have options in all this like different situations. And yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna wrap up and end this episode. And I hope, again, this does not discourage you, but instead it made you more aware of the different things that could happen in your career, how long things can take, how much sacrifice, how much effort things can gonna take, and being aware of situations that can happen, to not put all your happiness and weight into reaching a specific agency. Although obviously you want to have goals, you want to go after them, of course, but you never know what can happen. So again, like I said previously, rejection might be your protection. And again, reminder that success happens over time, not overnight. If there's any doubt on that, you can go back to any episode of my podcast to see how so many models have worked really hard throughout years and have faced so much rejection in order to get where they are at now. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments if you did. And also, please give me ideas of any other episode that you want me to talk about. I love to hear what you want to hear next. And until next one, I'll talk to you guys and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.